Hello, children of Epiphany. My name's Suzanne, and I'm sure you've seen me at church. I know I've seen you. I really enjoy watching you as you process down the aisle, as you go into the Children's Chapel, and I love to see you run back from Children's Chapel into the pews to find your parents. I attend Epiphany, but I'm also what's called a warden. A warden is a person who gets elected by the parishioners, by your parents, and a warden helps the rector and run the church. So when I'm not doing church stuff, I like to spend time with my family. My husband Solomon, you've probably seen him at church. I have two sons, Joseph and Matthew. They grew up in Epiphany just like you. They used to be acolytes. Now they're off kind of living on their own, so we don't see them at church all that often. Sometimes you may see them. When I'm not doing church stuff, I also run my own business. It's called Mosaic Oasis, and that's where we are today. So what I do in my business, I teach people how to make mosaics. Mosaics are pieces of artwork that are made with very small pieces of stone and very small pieces of glass. And you put them all together and you can make a beautiful piece of art. So people come here, I have an art studio. They come here to purchase materials for mosaics, and they also spend time here making their own mosaics. So we're going to take a little tour of the studio. I want to show you some of the things on the wall, some of the mosaics. This is a mosaic that I made. It's of a downy woodpecker. I get some of my mosaic inspiration from nature, and these little guys would come to my feeders in the winter. I just love to watch them. So that's something that I made. Let's see, this is another one of mine. That's a kind of an abstract of a mountain. I also made that one. I want to show you some of the work of my students. So we're gonna move over here. This beautiful sunflower, very, very colorful, was made by one of my students. They made it here at the studio. And we're gonna turn around to this back wall. I'm gonna show you some more. I love this one. This one, whoops. This one here is made by one of my students. It's kind of she got inspired by the artist Mondrian. And I love these. See these little specks? Those little specks are all gold. Gold, I think they're 18 karat gold pieces. So that's some of my student work. This was made by my mom. This is an Om sign. You know, before people do yoga, they say Om. Those are the letters in the Om sign. So we're gonna walk over here to the materials. I have all these materials on the back wall that people can use for mosaics. Sometimes my customers come in here and they say it's like going to a penny candy store. Have you ever been to a penny candy store? There aren't that many around anymore, and candy is not a penny anymore. But you could just fill up your bucket with the different materials and get to work on your mosaics. I love this material here. I'm going to talk about this a little later. This is very special glass material. It's glass. It's made in Italy. And I don't know if you know, but Italy is the place really where mosaics got started and where lots of mosaic art gets done right now. So this smalty is very special. We also have up here marble. Marble is what was used for kind of the ancient mosaics were made out of stone and marble. I'm going to move back behind my desk here. To show you kind of how to make a little mosaic. So this is a mosaic I started. To make a mosaic, you need something to work on. That's called the substrate. And you need tile. And typically, you would cut the tile up. This is called a wheeled nipper. So typically you don't, when you make a mosaic, you want to make the pieces smaller. So I cut this up. You can cut it up into any shape that I really want. So when people come in here, they can buy these tools and they can buy the materials. They can work at home or they can work in here. It's kind of fun to have a lot of people in here working, everyone working on their own mosaics. So now that I have some material cut up, I just I have glue, and now I just kind of place them down how I like them. I leave a little space. You notice that little space is where I will put, it's called grout. It's like mud that goes between the cracks, and it just gives it a nice, kind of a nice finished look. And if you use dark grout, it really makes the colors pop out. So I've got all different sizes. You can see this mosaic. I have some round ones. I've got these little square ones. I have these little crystal bits. So that's one way to make a mosaic. I want to show you another type of tool that we use often. This is called a hammer and hardy. This is the hardy part. That's like this is where you put the glass against. This is what they use in Italy. In Italy, they rarely use the nippers. They really like to use this hardy and hammer. But in Italy, this is not called a hammer. It is called a martellena. And I think the word martellena sounds much nicer than a hammer. So I put the glass in here, and I give it a good smack. And it breaks these pieces up. And I can get these pieces really, really small if I want to. See how tiny? And I'm not going to look up because I don't want to smash my fingers. But you can get them really pretty tiny with the hammer or the martellena and the hardy. And so what's really fun about this is you can get going really fast and cut up a lot of material at once. And it actually is very therapeutic just to sit here and break up glass into smaller pieces that you'll eventually use in your mosaic. So that's glass tile. This is also used for stone. So I have pieces of stone here that I can also break up. It's a really fun tool. And this is the traditional way that people have been making mosaics with this hammer and hardy for probably, let's say, that's a tough one, more than 1,000 years. One of the really special things about mosaics is that mosaics started as a religious art. It was found in the very, very early Christian churches and in churches today. Probably around 300 AD, when Christianity spread throughout the Middle East and into Europe, people were building churches. And at first, when big, huge churches were being built and people had lots of money to spend on the churches, they used big, huge slabs of marble in the church for decoration. But many smaller churches couldn't afford marble or the big slabs of marble, so they would find the scraps of marble, and they started making mosaics out of the scraps they had left over. And they were quite beautiful. So then the larger churches and churches that had a lot of money to spend on decoration decided that they liked mosaics too. So they spent a lot of time and money decorating their churches with mosaics. An example of that is right here. This is called the Star of Ravenna, and it's found in Ravenna, Italy, which is a huge mosaic. I like to call it a mosaic hotspot. And this mosaic is made out of that smalty material that I showed you, the very special glass from Italy. And all of this is gold. All this yellow is gold. And it's very beautiful. One of the earlier churches, this is a picture of a mosaic, You probably recognize this. I bet you can guess what this mosaic represents. I'm going to give you a few seconds before I tell you. Let you think about it. I bet you remember the story of the loaves and fishes, where Jesus and his disciples fed many, many people as they were listening to Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. That's what this represents, and this mosaic is found in a very small church by the Sea of Galilee. And you can see the fish on either side and the basket of bread. And this is a very early mosaic. It's made out of stone, but it's a really beautiful mosaic. So in a little bit, I'm going to show you you'll see other pictures of mosaics from around different parts of the world. But what I wanted to show you is that you probably don't have this material at home to make a mosaic, but you could make a paper mosaic at home, and you don't need a lot to make a paper mosaic. All you need, black construction paper, a pair of scissors, glue. Doesn't necessarily need to be this type of glue. It can be Elmer's glue, or it could be a glue stick would work really well. And then what I did, I drew the loaves and fishes, but you can draw anything. You can put any kind of design that you might like on the black construction paper. And then you need little squares, some really colorful construction paper cut up into small squares. And from this picture, this was made out of stone, so it's all like browns and tans, but you don't have to follow this exactly. You can use your imagination. You could make this loaves and fishes. You can make this loaves and fishes very, very colorful. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make one of these fishes this really electric blue color, and I'm just gonna put some glue on my paper. And then you can kind of cut up your little squares so they kind of match what you're doing. Glue it down. Leave yourself a little space, because that will be like where the grout is, and because it's black, it'll show up really nice. The little spaces between your pieces of colored paper, your little tile pieces. I'm just gonna spread a little more glue, and I'm gonna kind of shape this one a little bit. Put it in. But I think you get the idea. I know you're all home for summer right now, so this might be this could be a rainy day activity. And that glue will dry clear, so you won't see it when your mosaic is done. Watch this. Since I did this on a black piece of paper, I outlined my fish, my drawing. I have a white pencil, but you could use a white crayon or a light colored crayon. So there's the start of my mosaic. But you could keep going, and this could be a fun activity that you could do at home, a little practice mosaic. Maybe someday your parents could bring you here to Mosaic Oasis. We could do some fun project together. So that's your activity for home if you like. Just want to say a few words about some other mosaics. In mosaics, peacocks are really, really popular. If you look at my wall, we've got a number of peacocks here. There's a peacock, here's a peacock, there's a peacock here. Modern mosaic artists love to make peacocks, I think because they're so colorful and their feathers are so colorful, but also the ancient people used peacocks as a religious symbol. I think it's a religious symbol for everlasting life. So at the end of this video, there are a couple of pictures of a couple of peacocks. One is an ancient peacock, the other peacock you can find at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. I also included some churches that have beautiful mosaics. One is the church in Jerusalem, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's a beautiful mosaic of Jesus in the tomb. Also, there's a kind of a modern mosaic from our national cathedral in Washington, D.C., the Episcopal Cathedral there in Washington. Kind of a modern mosaic behind the altar. And then finally, I've added a couple of, I don't know if anyone ever goes to New York City, but in New York City there are beautiful mosaics in the subway. So at the very end of this video, you'll see some really kind of fun mosaics from the subway system. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about mosaics today. I've enjoyed doing this video, and I hope to see you soon, very soon I hope, at church. So enjoy your summer, maybe spend some time with some art, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.